To write a single page of text in the 9th century, a scribe sat in a freezing, silent room, splitting a quill across rough animal skin as dark ink pooled into the grain. Producing a manuscript required slaughtering entire flocks for vellum, complex chemical harvesting for ink, and hundreds of hours of manual labor. Modern scholarship often treats the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle as an objective ledger, a neutral timeline of the early medieval world. This document was engineered as a sophisticated piece of state propaganda. The architect behind this campaign was King Alfred of Wessex. King Alfred actively curated the narrative, dictating specific omissions to his scribes, rather than passively recording historical facts. The common stock of the Chronicle provided the structural engineering necessary to retroactively legitimize Wessex's supremacy over the island. This narrative campaign responded to the devastation of the Viking invasions. These raids effectively destroyed rival Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, erasing the political independence of Northumbria and East Anglia. Alfred's immediate objective was the permanent integration of Western Mercia into his own kingdom of Wessex. To cement this power, he assumed a new, unprecedented title, King of the Anglo-Saxons. The title had no historical precedent or legal basis. Alfred required a manufactured historical justification to prove Wessex was the natural leader of all English people. For a fragmented populace, controlling the historical record serves as an invisible tool of unification. Military victory was only the first step. Alfred had to conquer the historical record to secure his dynasty. Around the year 893, the state compiled the Chronicle's common stock. This was a retroactive timeline designed to sanitize the record of Wessex's rise. A specific study of King Egbert's 829 invasion of Northumbria reveals the mechanics of this curation. The Chronicle claims that when Egbert invaded, the Northumbrians offered him submission and peace. This account can be compared directly with surviving external records from Northumbria covering the same event. The Northumbrians record a violent reality. Egbert actually laid waste to the province with severe pillaging. The Wessex account rebrands violent conquest as a natural submission to their authority. The kingdom of Mercia was treated with similar textual scrubbing. Mercian military resistance and achievements were systematically minimized or entirely omitted from the timeline. Certain manuscript branches even exclude key political rivals, such as the Welsh leader Gruffydd ap Llywelyn. This narrative starvation deprived rival kingdoms of their own historical memory. The common stock was a redaction tool used to black out rival realities and center the universe on Wessex. Beyond the text, 9th century information control depended on the brutal physical logistics of manufacturing books. The primary barrier to propaganda was the extreme scarcity of literacy across the island. Book production involved massive material costs, from slaughtering flocks for vellum to harvesting the chemical ingredients for oak gall ink. To manage the work, Alfred aggressively recruited scholars from abroad to staff his scriptoriums. The Welsh month Asser was one of the specialists brought to Wessex for this intellectual campaign. Sustaining a class of scribes who produced no food or defense required immense state wealth. The Wessex Scriptorium functioned as an industrial factory for state ideology. Centralized narrative control demanded an absolute monopoly on intellectual labor. A master text was only effective if it could be projected outward. This required the labor-intensive creation of exact physical copies of the heavy common stock manuscript. Transporting these fragile, heavy manuscripts across a war-torn island was a logistical nightmare. The roads were constantly threatened by weather, bandits, and Viking raiding parties. These books were delivered to secure destination points, fortified regional monasteries. The manuscripts formed a physical information network, connecting Winchester to Abingdon, Peterborough, and Canterbury. Establishing these as the authorized reference forced local monks to perpetuate the Wessex timeline. By physically planting these texts in regional power centers, the state anchored its propaganda at the local level. By 893, this information network was already bearing political fruit. At this time, the scholar Asser was authoring his biography, The Life of King Alfred. Asser used the highly curated chronicle as his unquestioned factual baseline for Alfred's life. Through narrative laundering, state propaganda was filtered into a contemporary, seemingly independent biography. A political lie repeated across multiple verified physical texts becomes the accepted truth. The physical results of this campaign survive today in manuscripts like the Winchester Chronicle. Generations of scribes continued to add to these authorized versions, solidifying their legitimacy over centuries. Because Wessex won the historiographical war, rival texts were lost, destroyed, or forgotten. This centrally coordinated operation defined the history of England for 1,000 years. The state's ultimate power is its logistical capacity to permanently write